we bring you live to the Place de la Révolution on the day of Louis XVI's execution. Today has been a long-anticipated day for many. A careful look at the events that brought Louis to the guillotine forced the conclusion that short-sighted economic policy and long-standing social resentment made the revolution volatile to the point of explosion. In 1777, after the Battle of Saratoga, Louis sent financial and military aid to the American colonies in their rebellion against the British Crown. Despite the American victory, France faced crippling post-war debts and astronomical bread prices. In 1789, popular anger mounted in the face of apparent royal inaction. The king spent most of his time in hunting lodges, and the queen spent extravagant amounts of money on gambling and clothes. Versailles became a symbol of royal frivolity rather than unquestionable power, as in the time of Louis XIV. The extremist Jacobin Chaumette later even blamed the economic crises on Versailles' exorbitant use of tallow for candle wax, but most people did not share his sentiments. The financial crisis forced Louis to summon the medieval institution of the Estates General. Voting conflicts, however, caused the Third Estate to secede and form the National Assembly. Out of fear of this development, Louis locked the National Assembly out of its meeting place, and it claimed instead the royal tennis court. On the 20th of June in 1789, it swore an oath not to leave the tennis court until it had drafted a democratic constitution for France. Versailles, hated symbol of royal tyranny, came under siege in October of 1789. Because Louis had stalled before ratifying both the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen and the August Renunciation of Feudalism, his hesitations fueled suspicions that he might again try to resort to force. On top of all this, bread prices were still high. On October 5th, 7,000 Parisian women, armed with guns, swords, and knives from the Bastille, marched to Versailles demanding more and cheaper bread. Their success marked the end of royal independence. Due to the progressively hostile attitude in Paris, Louis began considering fleeing the capital. On the night of June 20th, 1791, Louis and his family, disguised as servants, left Paris. However, at Varennes the king was recognized and halted. Profound distrust now dominated the political scene. The king was seen as abandoning his people. The situation mounted in tension with the involvement of foreign powers. On August 20th, 1791, both Leopold II of Austria, who is Marie Antoinette's brother, and Frederick William II of Prussia issued the Declaration of Pillnitz. These monarchs promised to intervene in France to protect the monarchy. In France, the revolutionaries saw the nation surrounded by foreign, aristocratic, and monarchical foes, seeking to undo all that had been accomplished since 1789. 1 year later, France was at war with Austria and Prussia. After Prussia declared war on France, the commander of the Austro-Prussian army issued the Brunswick Manifesto on the 1st of August, 1792. The manifesto stated that if the royal family was harmed, Paris would be burned to the ground. The document had been authored by a Bourbon aristocrat and approved by Louis XVI, further increasing suspicion that the king was conspiring with foreigners. The final proof came in November of 1792, when the Minister of the Interior revealed to the convention a cabinet containing Louis's private files. These files contained proof of bribery, corruption, and conspiracy with foreign powers, and incriminated key revolutionaries such as Mirabeau, Talleyrand, and Lafayette. A month later, Louis was tried for high treason. He was sentenced to death in January of 1793. Louis's trial in December of 1792 revealed interesting insights into the nature of the revolution. In a sense, the trial condemned the institution of kingship itself, rather than Louis as a person. The point was to show that being king did not make a person infallible against crime and punishment. To that end, Louis was stripped of his royal title and referred to as citoyen capé, an ordinary person who could be judged as such. Today is the 21st of January, 1793, and Louis XVI will be executed at the Place de la Révolution. As Saint-Just had proclaimed only 3 months earlier, But make haste to judge the king, for there is no citizen who does not have the rights that Brutus had over Caesar. If the king is ever absolved, remember that we are no longer worthy of your confidence, and you may accuse us of perfidy."